The Sahel, often known as the G5 Sahel, and comprising Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad, has emerged as a hotspot for environmental fragility. It has the most coups, most former French colonies, uses the CFA controlled by France, and the most immigrants crossing the Mediterranean. These are the reasons why Western countries and Russia find it easier to manipulate them in their ploys. In the Sahel region of Africa, armed conflicts, severe climate change, and limited opportunities for employment or education are commonplace for many people. Millions of young people in the region are losing hope for the future as a result of these difficulties, which are made worse by the region's fast-growing population. Political unrest has given rise to more oppressive regimes, which has strained relations between several Sahelian states and their external or regional allies. For instance, relations between Paris and Bamako deteriorated severely after Mali's 2 consecutive military coups in 2020 and 2021. Tensions have been further aggravated by local hatred of France's terrible history of colonialism. France withdrew its military from Mali in August 2022 following 10 years of unsuccessful anti-terror and stabilizing efforts. Burkina Faso is plagued by violence, the same as Mali. Only around 60% of the nation is under the jurisdiction of its government, and the violence is still growing. Similar to Mali, the country's relations with France deteriorated as a result of back-to-back coups in 2022. In Ouagadougou, where the new military administration requested the removal of the French ambassador in December 2022, anti-French sentiment is likewise deeply ingrained, and demonstrations against Paris are frequent there. The Burkina Faso administration requested that France withdraw all of its troops from the nation. The United States' relations with both countries have gotten worse. The Biden administration halted the nation's free trade access to American markets after the coups. Laws that forbid giving U.S. military or training support to nations of concern were also prompted by widespread human rights concerns. The Wagner Group's presence in the Sahel has alarmed U.S. officials, but the government doesn't seem willing or able to offer any other security aid. Protests in both countries have targeted coups and have, at least in Mali, been fueled by the government. The group imposed sanctions on Mali at the beginning of 2022, but later removed them after the military government promised to hand over power to civilians. While attempting to support a comparable shift, it is collaborating with the Burkina Faso government, but progress has not been easy. Russia hasn't spent much time or money in Africa. However, it continues to advance steadily in several nations. Its presence defies Western attempts to isolate Russia by generating positive PR. Russia has a turbulent history, that much is true. The Sahelian republics that are seriously unstable and isolated on a global scale have seen the most progress, whereas several African democracies have found it difficult to gain traction. However, Moscow has demonstrated that it is capable of exploiting Africa's security gaps, instability, and shortcomings in governance. For instance, Moscow promptly transferred weaponry and military instructors from the Wagner Group to the Central African Republic (CAR) in 2017 following its successful renegotiation of the UN Security Council's arms embargo. Before the entrance of the Russians, France exerted considerable political and military influence over the CAR. Large-scale fighting persists in the CAR despite Russia's expanded engagement, and the humanitarian situation for defenseless civilians is still severe. Moscow is currently seizing possibilities that are aligned similarly in the Sahel. It has welcomed the military governments in Burkina Faso and Mali, offering them help with information operations, diplomatic backing, and security assistance. After Mali's second military coup, Russian military advisors deployed in the nation in late 2021. They have provided the nation with a 400-strong detachment of mercenaries to fight Islamist groups, primarily through the Wagner Group. It made weapons deliveries in the middle of 2022. However, the insurgency is spreading and Mali's security situation keeps becoming worse. Chad has relatively open borders with the Central African Republic, Libya, and Sudan, where Russian mercenaries are also active, and officials from Africa, Europe, and the United States have warned that the Wagner Group is expanding into these countries. Wagner is alleged to have given material and operational support to local rebels attempting to destabilize and possibly overthrow the government of Chad's interim president, Mahamat Idris Déby Itno. While aligning with military regimes in Africa hardly enhances Russia's power over the long term, it is certainly useful for unnerving countries, including the United States, France, and some of the Sahel's neighbors. Squeezing Russia out of Mali and Burkina Faso is not likely to solve the major issues facing the Sahel. Most nations on the continent, especially those in the Sahel, seek more control over how their international, political, and economic affairs are handled. They do not want to be forced into partners by the US and Europe. This issue is exacerbated by some recent statements made by Western capitals on zero-sum geopolitical competition on the continent. The Wagner Group may offer an easy fix and aid individual regimes in consolidating power, but addressing the real causes of instability in the region, poor governance, human suffering, the devastating effects of climate change, and armed jihadist groups, needs a well-resourced, multilateral solution. The most important issue for the region's population is not Russia, but the desire for improved security, economic, and social conditions. Sahelian repressive governments have leaped at the possibility of working with Moscow, but they will probably discover that Russian organizations like Wagner are ineffective in retaking territory that rebels have taken over. What is your opinion on Russia in the Sahel? Do you think Russia is going to calm down things in the region? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Encourage us to keep making videos like this for you by liking this video and subscribing to the New Tourist channel. Do not forget to turn on notifications too, so you get notified whenever we upload new videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.